I can't even explain to you what just transpired. I like actually just give me a second. Unbelievable. Okay. So I'll tell you why we're on such a delay. So learning curve for me. So I was out. So today, okay, I need to settle down. Thank you for waiting. This is the first time we've ever been this late, so I think we get a pass. And by we, I mean me. This has nothing to do with Aram. Okay, just bear with me. Okay, so I just that was a total freak out on my half. Because listen, if you guys tune into this show, you know it's clean every week. We're on time, music, graphics, like it's pretty solid. So today I'm with my 2-year-old and I'm taking her to the park and I hadn't locked in Mike Moon yet. So I wasn't sure about promoing and I knew I was going to be out. So I'm like, man, all right. So I lock in Mike Moon and I create the scheduled post from my phone. And I'm thinking like, what's the big difference? Like, I'll tell you that that was the big difference. So I go on my YouTube Studio app. I create a graphic. I put out the link. You guys were all waiting. No big deal. I come into my Streamlabs. It's there. Like I have a schedule, like a calendar. So it shows what's scheduled. Click it. Go live. Let's go. And it won't go. And apparently just when you set up a stream from mobile, it's supposed to be a mobile stream. So it did not compute from the computer. I know that sounds really like nerdy, but that's the truth. So while I was starting my live stream, it was just not going through because YouTube was expecting the stream to come from my mobile device. Anyway, man. So then like I had to recreate the whole stream, which sounds easy. But when you're late and you're scrambling and everyone's expecting you to bring on, you know, Mike Moon, which is going to happen. The truth of the matter is Mike Moon isn't he can't come on till like 8:45 anyway. There's a Ventura County football meeting that I believe he is either the host or like the head of, or he runs it. So anyway, that's the explanation. I apologize, but we're here and like 20 minutes late. I'm so sorry. But listen, I need a pass. It's really not something that is new for this stream. That is new to be late. So I appreciate you guys being in here, waiting around. I think we have some Pacifica people in here. There could be some Palos Verdes people in here. Yes, we are going to have Mike Moon on. We're going to talk to him about what transpired after the Palos Verdes final, the Division III final against Palos Verdes, I should say. I believe the final score ended up being 20 to 10. So we'll rehash the video. There was a 4th down conversion that went for a touchdown. And thank you. It said no need to apologize, Tarek. It's called life, brother. Yeah, just a mishap. So my apologies. But you know, again, I like to deliver. So I appreciate you guys having a little bit of grace for me. We got a good show lined up. Aram and I are gonna talk CIF Finals, maybe any notable headlines. I do have a nice, I don't know if you want to call it a column, but kind of a 30,000 feet up piece on Rio Hondo Prep and their 3-year run. And I'll kind of give a sneak peek of what I put in that tonight. But that's going to be out tomorrow morning. And there's going to be some quotes from Mark Carson's interview last week from this show that I thought were really insightful. And then what's quite interesting is what he spoke about in last week's show. And then for them to beat Redondo Union, it all just made so much sense. So be on the lookout for that. And I'll talk a little bit later in the show when we get to Rio Hondo Redondo Union about what that's about and some of the numbers and stats and kind of schools that they beat and stuff like that. But without further ado, I'm going to bring on Aram. We're going to talk a little D1 final and how much of a ho-hum game that was, unfortunately. I went to 2 running clock championships this week. I went to Santa Margarita and Centennial at the Rose Bowl, and it was a blowout. It was a running clock in the 4th quarter. Then I went to Crenshaw Carson, which I thought would be a fun city section game for the Open Division. That was 36-0. Carson scored all 36 points, I believe, in 7 minutes of the 2nd quarter. It was unbelievable. Like, it was like touchdown, punt return, fumble, 1 score, pick 6, game over. It was unreal. All in 7 minutes and 5 seconds. So I did not have an eventful Friday weekend of championships in regards to coverage, but there were some great games out there, and we will talk about those here. But without further ado, it's time to bring in Aram. Thank for everybody for being here. Apologies again for Aram is innocent. Tarek is guilty, but totally forgiven. We love him. Okay, thank you. Yeah, sorry for the tardiness. We'll get it going here. We'll bring on Aram. I'll let him filibuster a little as I settle in, and then we'll get to some football talk. And then, of course, Mike Moon will join us probably in the next, 20 minutes or so, maybe 9 o'clock at the latest.
Tarek, bro, we've been friends for a long time. Make the call.
You're on, dude. Go ahead, man. Take it over.
Thanks, Tarek. Good to be with you. Dude, life happens. Not a big deal, dude.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Not a big deal. I don't mind taking the blame.
No. It's the stream, I went on the back end, I'm like, what the hell's going on? And it just says mobile when usually it says something else. So I screwed it, but now I know, don't schedule a stream from mobile. Aram, look, man, Division 1 final. I was in spaces a little bit on Friday. But for the most part, your initial reactions to Santa Margarita's thumping of Corona Centennial, Trent Mosley, 10 receptions, 292 yards, 4 touchdowns. I mean, they literally had no answer for him.
Yeah, so much of those yards were yak, Tarek, yards after catch. So that's much more impressive, about what he did and what he had 200 at halftime, 208 at halftime. I don't think anybody really expected that to happen to Corona Centennial. But, this Santa Margarita team, we had kind of wondered where their offense was all year, and it just seems like everything came together at the very, very perfect time in the championship game. And there you have it. They have been kind of getting better and better. So shocking, man. I mean, I don't think it was a coin flip game, and you got that kind of result. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what was so disappointing about it is we were finally excited to see 2 different teams. Not to mention the first meet went into overtime, right? So you're thinking, oh my gosh, this has all the trimmings to be a fantastic game. I'm running some highlights here, Aram. I'll actually cue them up for you on our back end. Give me 1 second. But yeah, I think on paper this was supposed to be a legendary game. It was far from it. It actually started out how Corona Centennial usually plays. I believe, if I remember correctly, Santa Margarita got up 14-0. Centennial finally started getting a couple stops, scored a touchdown. It was 14-7. Okay, we might have ourselves a game. And that was not the case. And to your point, Trent Mosley, some of these plays, I mean, early, their first possession, or maybe even their first or second play, was just kind of a quick throw to the side, bam, up the sideline. I think he had a punt return too that set him up in good field position. And then I want to say the first possession of the second half, it was just kind of like a run right, throw it back left, and he went for 91 yards, and that was it. So you're right. I'm a little shocked that it looked so easy, right?
Yeah. I just think they just kind of caught lightning in a bottle in one game. Maybe that was something that the coaches had picked up on film going into it as well, and just thought that, this could maybe bust for a big play, and it did. It worked out. And, what can you say? Santa Margarita is certainly the king of SoCal. They're sitting up on a state title right now. I think they'll be heavily favored to do that. And that probably makes them the national champ?
Santa Margarita to be the national champ if they win the state open.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know if they'll. I personally don't think they're going to win the state championship because
really,
yeah, or excuse me, sorry, I don't think they're going to win the national championship. I don't know if the powers that some publications might. I find it hard to believe you can give a team with 3 losses a national championship, especially when it's mythical. So I'm not saying it won't happen. I just won't be surprised. And maybe I just said a second ago, I don't think it'll happen. I take that back. I would be surprised if it happened because, again, they have 3 losses. and I don't know. It is the toughest section to win. They'd have to really blow out De La Salle, and that might help because I believe De La Salle's 12-0, so that would certainly help. But it would be crazy if Carson Palmer won a national championship in year one. Now that I think about it,
I tell you what, a 3-loss team is going to win the college national championship if they get in, and that would be Texas.
Okay.
Not to change subjects.
No. That's
this is on
fair.
YouTube and it's marked. They got to get in first. But if Texas gets in, you heard it here first. They're winning the national championship.
Hold on. I am just like all over the place, guys. This is just.
So far,
I am the most frazzled I've ever been. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Nothing in chat about my echo. So I don't know. Maybe we're not echoing tonight. I don't know.
I don't think you're ever. I don't ever think you're actually echoing. I think sometimes your audio might sound like you're in a little bit of a chamber, but there's no actual echo. I watch the shows back. I never hear an echo. A lot of times people think I'm like, I'll get messages like people think I'm choppy or hey, it's not coming in right, and it could be their Wi-Fi. It could be where they're watching from. Hold on, let me just tweet this out, guys. Sorry, I'm like totally scrambling. Pacifica's Mike Moon joins the show. 8:45. Okay. Jeez. All right. Okay, then, what else, Aram? Okay, so the other big storyline was obviously Rio Hondo prep.
Yes.
Look, man, I was a little shocked that you and Fred picked Redondo Union to win that game. Though I understand that we all knew that Noah Pinaneri was probably not going to play. So I'm assuming that's why you picked him. He was dealing with the high ankle sprain. And Mark Carson actually told us before last week's show, he didn't want us to talk about it, but he said, hey, man, Noah's in rough shape. And I don't know if he's going to go. So I don't know. I decided to just not bet against Rio Hondo prep more than actually thinking they were going to win. And I was stunned to find out that they won that game 29-7. Redondo Union's only score of the whole game came on a Bo Osmus 99-yard rush in the first quarter, which is basically like a busted play. And Rio Hondo prep shut him out the next 3 quarters and won 29-7 without Noah Pinaneri. So, I mean, where does this sit on just legendary seasons for high school football, let alone a three-peat?
Well, I want to know, if you remember, like, Grace Brethren, like, what were their jumps in division by year? Do you remember?
Not like this. I mean, I could go look it up. I actually just got done writing about it. I could probably look it up because I wrote a little forward for them for the daily news. It was not like this, and I don't think it might have been like division. Oh, they might have won a D. It might have been like 6-4 or something like that. I can look it up right now. But go ahead.
I don't mean to put you on the spot, but I can
find it. It's right here.
Yeah, Grace Brethren is the school, the team that comes to mind that made this kind of leap, like Rio Hondo Prep has made. I just don't know what the divisions were that they scaled on an annual basis. Rio Hondo Prep was 9. They were Division 9 2 years ago, Division 7 last year, Division 5 this year. And Tarek, I don't know if this is a good time for me to kind of get into the research I did today on them and to talk about the coaches.
Yeah, I'm down. I have the Grace Brethren. Okay, the peak of the Lancers run under former coach Josh Henderson came in a 3-year window from 2017 to 2019 when they reached 3 straight CIF Southern Section Finals. Grace won the Division 8 championship in 2017. Okay. Won a Division 4 crown and CIF State Division 2 AA title in 2018. And then they didn't, I got to look at what they did in 2019. I think they lost to Corona Del Mar in the Division 3 final. So they went 8-4-3. But I remember one of the big wins they got in that 2019 season, basically the third year of the 3-year stretch. They beat Oaks Christian 54-28, and that was a big deal. Little old Grace Brethren going to Westlake Village and knocking off Big Brother Oaks Christian. That was huge. So and then literally like 2 years later, the program just dissipated overnight. But there you go. So 8-4-3, but I think they lost that third title final.
Right. So this is not totally unprecedented. It's certainly one of the best rises we've ever seen. Certainly in the San Gabriel Valley, there's not been anything like it. And if there was, it's hard to tell because they used to division so differently back in the day. Like I think back to the 2003 Los Altos team that won a CIF championship in what was Division 7, I want to say, and it was either 6 or 7, and they beat Orange Lutheran in the championship game. This is kind of right before Orange Lutheran becomes a Division 1 team, but certainly a program on the rise themselves. The thing was, though, like in Eric Sondheimer's final LA Times rankings, Los Altos was number 2 in Southern California. So the divisions weren't like as properly made as they are today, because realistically, that Los Altos team, I don't know, they could have been a D1 team that year and maybe have competed. They were that good, certainly to be number 2 in the final SoCal rankings. So that'll let you know. So it's kind of hard to compare, these type things. But I will say this. Top to bottom, the divisions are done better today, and that certainly bodes well for Rio Hondo Prep because they won this thing, and they won it basically, without playing a close game. I mean, they were not in a competitive game in the fourth quarter of any of the championships of any of the playoff games, and it got easier as they got towards the championship, it seemed like. So today, okay, let me back up. So on Saturday in our spaces, we had continued speculation about what Rio Hondo Prep is doing to make themselves this good. What is the secret sauce? Tarek, you and I had Coach Carson on last week. We asked him about this. We got, some good insight from him, but certainly no secret sauce. It's prompted people, to speculate wildly, even our guy, Coach DK in Spaces, saying that they're a cult, which is kind of hilarious to hear them described as a cult. But, this is what happens.
Which is ridiculous, but it is funny.
It's ridiculous. I think it's humorous.
It is.
Yeah, it's tongue in cheek, but it's like we're getting so extreme that, the next thing you know is someone's going to say they have Connor Stallions on their sideline, stealing signals or something. I mean, it's like gotten to that point because people just can't put their finger on it. So today I contacted 2 coaches. I won't say, actually I spoke to 3. I won't say, now I can't say whether these were playoff coaches that they face in the playoffs or in the regular season, because it's 3 that I've spoken with now. And I can't say whether they're head coaches or assistants, but it doesn't matter. This is what they told me, and I will read from it. And, there's kind of a recurring theme here. One coach said it's old-fashioned football. It's Don Markham, Myron Miller football. They just line up in a different set than those Myron Miller or Don Markham teams. They do something, this coach said they do something that's kind of a lost art. So he also said he keeps hearing people say that they're small. He said they're not small. And that may be something that we're kind of overlooking, is that they do have decent size. Now, I remember that going back to like when, earlier in the season that someone had posted a video of them running out for warm-ups, and they looked physically better than I thought they would. So that's so continuing on with what these coaches said, one of these coaches said, and this is a coach that faced them in the playoffs, would I say they're more talented than us? Maybe slightly. but the level of execution was pretty elite.
Mm.
We like to think we're good, but we watch them and say, this is what robots look like.
Mm-hmm.
They know their job. Their job is to shorten the game and drag out the clock and frustrate their opponent. They just hold on to the ball. They're really good at what they do. I asked defensively, because we've spent a lot of time like speculating what their offense is, like what are they doing on offense? Like I don't get it. But don't overlook the defense because 6 points, 7 points, shutout, that type of stuff in the playoffs. Don't overlook the defense. This coach said it's a 4-4 cover 3, and they just do it really well. They do some unconventional things at different times. Now, this is something that I thought was interesting. He said they have a very special coaching staff that understands their kids and understands their talent level and what they can and can't do. He said that when we ran a successful play and went back to it, they stopped it, which makes me think that Coach Carson, Rocky Sato, the defensive coordinator, their in-game stuff is very good, and the players get it too, and they adjust on the spot probably better than most teams do. And so, that's a large part of it. I have more. I don't mean to hog the time here.
No, go ahead. 'Cause Moon, we're good. Moon said he's gonna come on soon, but we're good. I'll tell you when he's on, but he's not on, so you're good. And I got Rio Hondo prep highlights rolling now.
Oh, okay. The sort of going back to the question of talent. This guy said, I don't think they have 22 Division I athletes, but Noah Pineri is special. 56, which would be Gavia, their best lineman, is extremely talented, this coach said. They're fullback. We don't have any guys like that running the ball. That would be Nathaniel Shine, I want to say, who, could be about 200 pounds. So let's not downplay the talent, I think is what these two coaches were kind of saying. Actually, all three were kind of
when I watch them, I think of, I don't know if you ever got to see Troy Thomas's Servite teams in person, but they remind me of a 1.0 version of that. I mean, almost military, like when your coach that you're talking about kind of says that they're almost like robots, that's what Servite looked like. I mean, even just walking into the stadium, that kind of uniform, not like wearing one, like uniformity within the team. And everyone has their role. Everyone champions their role. Everyone has their assignment. Everyone has their own goal. That's for the greater good of the team goal. And no one deviates from it. There's no egos. And as long as, and it's think about that. Think about how easy it is to get your team to buy in when you're constantly winning. This team is 14-0. You know what I mean? So it makes all the sense in the world for these kids to lock in on what their individual, goals are within the game. And so when I used to watch these Servite teams play under Troy Thomas, the word that came to mind was surgical. Just if they needed a drain clock, they could do it. If they had to go a little bit faster, they could do it. And just technical football, man. And then on top of that, with Servite, they also had athletes. You know what I mean? So that's what made them so much better. But that's what I see. Chris Force says that he says the Rio teams remind him of the Harry Welch coached teams. Basic run game, basic pass game, elite defense. His teams line up in a 4-3, cover 2 every single snap of the year. So, and Harry Welch, I mean, that's like one of the greatest guys to ever do it.
Right. So the takeaway, Tarek, basically from talking to these coaches, I mean, you and I, other media, can speculate on spaces. The guys we have in there, the other legends and gurus, they can speculate all they want. Now we have coaches kind of shedding further light, coaches that actually went up against them. The takeaways that I would get from this are the following. Number one, Rocky Seto, his influence on the defense is pretty advanced, and the kids are receptive to it. They're very smart, and they can handle it. Number two, we're not giving them enough credit for their actual talent level. I think they're more talented than the label of the little engine that could, like meaning they have pretty good, frames and in the right spaces. And then number three, I would just say is that they're running unique stuff, especially on offense, that teams just don't see very often this season.
Yeah. Yes, I agree with that point maybe most of all. Not that I don't agree with the other ones, but something about when you say, when your coaches who watch them on film say things like, man, they just play that old school brand of football. Maybe it's just a little bit of a lost art that like teams just don't see it that often. It can't be that simple, but maybe it is. I don't know, with a couple little modern wrinkles. I don't know. I'd imagine that either way, man, you got a whole team buying into a system, and there are no weaknesses per se. They're hard to beat. Couple extra things. Mike Moon is on. We're going to bring him on here in 2 seconds. I just want to point out one last thing to wrap up this Rio Hondo prep. Two things that I put in this column that I prepared for, that I'm gonna release tomorrow on Rio Hondo prep. So Redondo Union, I looked, ended up having 8 transfers this year. Let's see. Redondo Union had 8 transfers this year, 7 of which became eligible later in the year. So only 1 was a valid change of residence. 4 served a sit-out period, and 3 were immediately approved after transferring from Bishop Montgomery. So this is a team that significantly got better with new, like, extra players, which we all kind of knew, but I'm just giving some added detail on how much better they got. 8 extra transfers, right? Rio Hondo Prep, 0 transfers. Like, just regular dudes that grew up from 7th and 8th grade, and they're 14-0. So I always think that adds to the story. And then I ran through, real quick, the 3-year stretch of playoff opponents that they beat. All publics except for 1. They beat St. Margaret's in the first round of 2023. But they beat Orange, 1,700 kids, Vista del Lago, 1,700 kids, Santa Monica in the championship of Division 9, 2,500 kids, 2024 first round, Ramona, 2,200, ML King, 2,800, West Torrance, 1,800. Then they beat Warren in the Division 7 championship, 3,600 students. This year, they beat Thousand Oaks in the first round, 1,800 students. They beat Troy, 2,500 students. Lucerna in the semifinals, 2,400 students. Redondo Union, 3,000 student enrollment in the championship of Division 5. Rio Hondo Prep, 150 kids in the whole school, 82 boys. I mean, it's just, look, say all you want, and I get it. Private, public, I get it. That is remarkable data for a team to do it 3 years in a row and at a higher level each year. Go ahead, Aram, last ad, and then we're going to bring on.
Yeah, just my last ad is like, it's not your typical private though. Like I think when we talk private, I think it kind of lends to the notion that, this is a team with, that kind of moves and shakes and gets, transfers and stuff like that, like maybe other top private schools do, or that lures them in with incredible facilities and stuff like that. And they have a nice bus. I mean, a nice charter bus with a police escort to where they're going, but it's not like that, Tarek. There are actually a couple guys that have come in that I heard of. Like one was from Loyola, so not totally void of transfers over the last few years, but
I don't think they had one this year.
They're not a mover and a shaker. That's what I'm saying. So
yeah. Carson said they've had the occasional transfer, which is rare, but I don't think they've had one this season. There might be a guy on the roster that came in like a year or 2 ago.
Possibly,
but
yeah.
I don't think they had a guy this season. Okay, all right. So I've got Mike Moon queued up. Coach, we'll get to you in like 2 seconds. Let me just set the stage here. First off, we want to thank everybody for joining. We got quite a few viewers in on the stream tonight, so thank you. Sorry for the late start once again, but thank you all for being here. This is probably like, the pinnacle of tonight's show. We got Coach Mike Moon on Pacifica. They just won their 2nd CIF championship in a row. They won on, I believe it was Friday night. They beat Palos Verdes. and what was 20-10 victory in Division 3. So what we're gonna kind of start with, because I think that's what everyone wants to know about, and that's why Coach Mike Moon was nice enough to come on, because he wants to say his piece. And I just want to reiterate to everybody, if anyone's new in here, please like and subscribe to the channel. Have to throw that in there. That's for free. However, the reason why we like this channel, Money Man, Carson Palmer's been on, Matt Logan, John Ellinghaus, and Scott Altenberg came on after Crampgate. There are things we do on this channel that no one else is doing. Maybe nationwide, I don't know, but I can definitely say in Southern California. And that's why I think this channel is so fun and it's so good, because we're not just going to go grab a couple quotes. We're going to allow coaches, players, whomever wants to come forward and say their piece, unfiltered, live. And this is what we're doing. I did ask Coach Gardner if he wanted to come on and speak, and he politely declined, and that's cool. That's on him. So I just want everyone to know, any Palos Verdes peeps out there, I asked Coach Gardner to come on earlier in the show, and he decided he didn't want to do it. No problem. So now we have Mike Moon on, who agreed earlier today. So Coach, let's see here. Coach, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Perfect.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, you sound great. Aram, you got him?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Coach Mike Moon, ladies and gentlemen, on the Fattal Factor. Coach, thanks for being here. I know you had a Ventura County coaches meeting that you scrambled from and got here so you could join us today, so I very much appreciate that. Look, high school football, people are interested. There are stories. 90% of our coverage is good. We just got done talking about Rio Hondo Prep and Santa Margarita, but every so often, not to say that it's bad, but there is stories that come up, and something happens, and we're not exactly sure what transpired. How can we look at this? Who do we talk to? Well, to me, I like going straight to the horse's mouth, and so does Aram. And so that's why we've asked you to come on today. So go ahead, and as you're speaking, I'm going to kind of just let the clip roll, and I'll be sure that you can see it too from your angle. So give me 2 seconds here to make sure that's happening. And then we'll let you... There we go. You should see that. You're going to see this no opinionary thing right here for now, but here we go. Okay. Let me bring this up on the stream. And then, Coach, I'm going to let you do your thing. 1 second here. There we go. There we go. There we go.
All right, that's when Isaiah's scoring the touchdown.
Yeah, go ahead. Here we go. Now the stream can see it. Okay, Coach, floor is yours. All you want.
Yeah, so here, and now they come with a water bucket, and they're trying to celebrate, and I wish I could take that back. I started running onto the field away from the water bucket because last year I got pneumonia when I got dumped with the water. So, and I started running onto the field, realizing where I was running. Then I tried to turn it up the field, and I just give up, and they dumped me with water right there. You can see it. Unfortunately, I have some kids doing the ring finger thing to the crowd, and we addressed that today in our meeting, and we're gonna hold those guys accountable. But at that point right there, then obviously I run back to the other sidelines because they're trying to dump me again with water. So now I'm on the sidelines and they're lining up to shake hands. As you can see, it just passed a little bit. They have a kid that wasn't dressed. He was injured, leading the line. You can see him kind of motioning and saying some stuff. And of course, you just saw our guys hooting and hollering a little bit to the crowd. It was brief, but it happened. And then they went back in the line. And then they're going to shake line or do the handshake line. I'm still in the back because I'm trying to dry off on the water. My AD is kind of in front of it. And when he sees the kid kind of motioning, and we won't say what he was saying. And of course, our kids were chirping back. Our AD said, hey, we don't, I think what it was in Division 11 championship, there was a brawl or whatever after the game. Like, we don't want to have that. So our AD said, hey, we're gonna decline to shake hands. I'm staying in line there. I'm shaking every one of the coaches' hands. I shake their coach's hand. I'm not really sure what's going on at that time. I told them, hey, I'm not really sure what's going on, but appreciate great game. You guys did a great job. A few of my players stayed in line with me, a couple of my coaches as well. So I still shook hands with everybody. Then we went over there off to our side to take a picture, talk to the team for a little bit. He took his team to the opposite side. I kind of came back. You don't see it, but I came back for the ceremony, and at that point, he was really upset that we didn't shake hands. And he went all the way down to his side, and we just couldn't. There was no getting it back. They stayed there. The bus was leaving, and they were still over on that side of the field. So, yeah, there was some stuff I wish I wish I wouldn't have ran onto the field to avoid the bucket. So just wear it, I guess. Because obviously that's the kids running onto the field. I wish that moment right there, a couple of those kids doing the ring finger thing and hooping, hollering, and doing the hoop season thing. I wish that didn't happen. We need to celebrate together as a team. We had a little team meeting today before we started anything about that. And then the rest of it's not on the kids. I'm really upset about the reaction from it. That's not on the kids. And the racist and derogatory terms that these people throw out at our kids on social media is unacceptable. If you want to take shots at me, if I don't have control or whatever, that's fine. But I gotta be honest with you, it's a hostile place to play. I was just in a room full of coaches that have all played games there, and in a championship game there with terrible lighting, and you know what I'm saying. And it's just a hostile place to play. Now, I say that not in a negative way because it's a championship game and you're playing on the road, so it's going to be a hostile environment. And I got to be honest with you. You go back. There was somebody did a whole video clip of the whole game, like the highlights of the game. It was a super clean game. I mean, I think there was one dead ball personal foul, not on one of our guys, but it was one play the whole entire game. It was clean. There was not a lot of dumb penalties. It was just two really good football teams getting after it. They didn't have their quarterback, so that was an effect. We couldn't catch the ball, so that was an effect. But the game was so clean, and despite the hostility before the game and the kids kind of jawing back and forth, and I mean that's championship. I mean, shoot, we've played Grant, we've played all these teams, like that's kind of part of it. But unfortunately that last part, and then to them to blame the kids and call them ghetto and thugs, I'm not really sure where they're getting that from. There was no fight, there was no anything. There was kids jawing back and forth. It wasn't one-sided. And so again, we addressed what we felt was inappropriate behavior on our part. We wish we can do some things differently. Of course, I wish I did not run away from the bucket. I wish I would have just, I don't know. I think that was kind of the beginning of it. For people to say that he should have taken a knee, I don't know if people realize there was still time on the clock. Like, that doesn't make any sense. He's going to run the ball. And then for him to run the ball and go into, I don't know. I'm not worried about that. He thought he was going to get stopped. If you saw the play, he should have gotten stopped. He broke free, and he just ran for a touchdown. So there was people taking shots at our kids for him making that decision. Keep in mind, this is the kid that took 4 or 5 punches to the face with his hands in the air against Oak Hills so that we could continue to make this run for the championship. I mean, and everybody saw that and give the kid praise. So that's the same kid. So tarnish his reputation is kind of insulting on social media. For the kids doing the hooting and hollering stuff to the crowd, that's unacceptable. So we're going to address that. They're kids, and they shouldn't do that. But I watched a lot of these ceremonies because I went back on NFHS over the weekend, and I watched how everybody kind of celebrated their championship because everybody's saying how out of line we were, and it's pretty on par. There's people doing the hoop season thing, or whatever it's called, hoop season. There's the ring finger stuff, and again, I know we want to eliminate a lot of that stuff from high school sports, and I'm not disagreeing with that, but we're still talking about kids, and they didn't make the decision there. As you can see, they were lined up, ready to go, and then we were even saying, like, hey, are we gonna get together for a ceremony? And CIF said no, and then they just gave us our trophy. So, which is fine. So anyway, that's the take on it. So again, I wish there's some stuff we could take back from it, but again, you're watching the clip. It's really, there's really nothing there. Again, we addressed what was wrong. I'm sure Coach addressed his kid, and his behavior at the handline shake too. He's a class act guy. So again, I mean that's where it's at. And you call me on here to say my part. I have a whole lot more to say about everything, but it was an interesting experience for our school to play a championship game in Palos Verdes, to say the least.
I think when I first saw it, I didn't have a problem with the kid scoring the touchdown. I think it's 4th and 2. You need to convert a first down to keep the ball. People are saying, "Oh, just punt it away." I wouldn't give the other team a chance to touch the damn thing.
Bad snap.
So people are like, "Oh, run backwards and run out the clock." That sounds like a disaster. So I get it. Anyone that knows anything about football knows every play is designed to score a touchdown. So if the kid sees green grass, he's gonna keep running. I got no problem with the touchdown. I don't, and anyone that does, that's just a little weird. The kid's playing football. He scores. It's the championship game. You're putting the game to rest. I would even say Coach Gardner probably didn't have a problem with that touchdown either. Where I think it gets a little weird is that the celebration kind of loops under their sideline, and it's hard, and I'm just speaking objectively, it's hard to kind of have that action and then within seconds try and be above reproach after that action and think that it's okay that the other team is going to be cool with a handshake. So I also understand that point, and I also think it's smart for your admin, or maybe, and yourself, you said your AD, to try and just, we just probably were a little disrespectful right there, and they could easily bait us into something we don't want to be into because they're a little fired up, and I don't want my kids suspended for the next game. So I do understand that too. You're trying to protect your next game. They have nothing to lose now. So there's so many aspects of this where I understand both sides, but I appreciate you coming on. Aram, go ahead.
Yeah, first of all, congrats, Coach, on the championship. That's a great accomplishment. This is a great job you've done at Pacifica. We talked about Rio Hondo Prep rising through the ranks. You've done the same thing, now up to D3. Fantastic job in the championship, and hopefully you keep it going. And for the record, I agree with Tarek and what you said. To think that the kid should just take a knee is ridiculous. It's basically the last play of the game. He has no idea if there's a penalty behind him or whatever. Anything is possible. He's basically, if he scores, ices the game, even if there's no time left on the clock. So it's just kind of ridiculous for people to question that. My question would be, did you have any inkling from anything that had happened previously in the season that your team might be prone to sort of taunt like that and fly across the field and sort of get in their face as we approach the handshake stuff?
No, I don't know if you're familiar with our community and where we're from and things like that, but we have kids that I call it hooting and hollering and things like that. That to the sidelines. First of all, you said, just to address real quick what Tar said, again, I'm going to take the blame for running kind of onto the field away from the water, and that took the group of kids. Otherwise, we would have on the sidelines, and the guys would have had to cross the whole entire field to do that. Yeah. So a lot of bad actions kind of leading up to that. And so when our kids do something inappropriate, we deal with it and we address it, and so again, we haven't had perfect behavior. Has anything like that happened at the end of games? No, not at all. So we shake hands every year except for one game where the referees did not allow it, and that was not on our side of it. That's just it. I did not think that they were gonna hoot and holler. The crowd was gotten into it, and the boo factor and all that stuff, and you just have to just ignore that when you're on the road. Like I said, it's a hostile environment, and you should be. And basically, what we talked about in the meeting today was we need to turn our energy on ourselves at that point. We won the championship. Let's focus on ourselves and celebrate with ourselves instead of having individuals kind of, taunting the crowd, if you will. Not if you will, taunting the crowd and doing that type of thing. So again, the game, if you're talking about the game was hard fought. There was no inkling of anything like that. Pre-game, they were jawing back and forth with each other. I know one video camera was recording our guys. Of course, nobody was recording, but it was nobody was crossing the 50-yard line or threatening to fight or anything. It was just a bunch of words. But the game itself was clean. Nothing crazy. Again, one dead ball, personal foul, wasn't on our guys, and it wasn't anything crazy on their part. It was before half, and it was just a clean game throughout. So no, there was no thought about that at all. So and no thought that would have even happened. At the end of the game. So yeah. So again, I wish I could have taken back me running onto the field. Obviously, we've addressed it with the guys that were kind of taunting and things like that, and I have seen it. It was pretty rampant amongst all the championship games that went on in the Southern section. And so maybe it's something as coaches that we all need to address with our teams and, how to win championships. And, I talked to a buddy about it, and he's just like, keep in mind when you win a championship, that's the end of the career for some kids, and you have to have a heart for that. And that's completely true. So maybe that's something that all of us as high school coaches in the Southern section need to address with our teams, and how to win, how to celebrate, how to handle the handshakes and things like that. So again, I've talked to our guys today. We had a team meeting. held those kids accountable. We know who they are, and we had to talk with them. We had to talk with the whole team. We had a really good talk with, the social media reaction. We had they had big questioning of why the name calling about them, what makes them, thugs and ghetto. And so it was a really long 45-minute meeting. And there was a lot of good conversations that came out of it. And it was a learning point for our team. And I think all the coaches, that maybe that's happened when they won a championship, they need to address it. And, maybe it's just not our team. And maybe it's just something in high school football that we need to address. You flip on college and, that I'm not saying they emulate that, but a lot of times they watch that stuff. And us as high school coaches, we have to realize that they're kids. They're not grown-ups like the 20-year-old college kids. And they need to be held accountable and be guided the right way, if you will. So, again, we're holding those kids accountable, and we dealt with it. But, yeah, so made a short answer long, I guess.
That's all right. Go ahead,
Aram. Coach, what is your thought on the whole debate that's kind of been brought back up from this game about whether there even should be a handshake line after games? Seems like they're, not just with this incident, but other places as well. In recent years, there's been some sort of issues with handshake lines, and it often is, I shouldn't say often, but it sometimes is, a problematic part that either leads to coaches going after each other, getting at each other, or players, or a combination of the two. Where do you stand on whether we should or shouldn't have a handshake line?
I'm like half old school, half new school, right? The new school in me is like, because the penalties are so much stiffer now, and because of NFHS, and because of cameras, right? In the 80s and 70s, a bunch of stuff happened, and nobody knew about it because it wasn't on NFHS and it wasn't on camera. So, so because of that, I'm like, maybe just get away from it, because it's just avoiding confrontation. But the old school guy in me is just like, man, it's like you can't line up and shake a hand. So I get it. It's not the be all end all. Like, it's like, oh my God, you can shake hands, you should strip the title from you. Like, right. And it wasn't like they weren't lining up, they were lining up. And as you can see, I think right there, I'm still shaking hands. So there's still people shaking hands. So it's not like screw you and, two teams running in opposite directions, But, there's a lot of people that talk about it. Now, let me talk about a championship game. So in a championship game, you're supposed to celebrate in that moment. The other team is lined up on a 50, and then you're supposed to celebrate, right? Then you're supposed to stop celebrating and shake hands. Then you're supposed to talk to your team for a second, but then CIF is waiting for the CIF celebration, right? So I just think maybe just some very guidelines of, okay, at this point you can celebrate for 5 minutes, right? And then, okay, the next 5 minutes is going to be the handshake. And then you address the team, and then you come to, the ceremony, all right? Because, we've won CIF 3 times, and then we won 2 Southern Regionals. We played in a couple state games, and every post-game ceremony is just a little bit different, and you have a little less time to celebrate, or no time to celebrate. So, I mean, as you can see, we're celebrating, they're lining up on the 50. That's not their fault. Like, the game's over, they're lining up on the 50. And so I think in championship games, I think maybe just have a really strict guideline of, at this point, you have 5 minutes to celebrate, and then tell the AD, okay, the AD needs to take you over there, and then you go to handshake, and then you do the ceremony, and then if you need to address the team, you can address the team after that. So again, there's so much going on at the end of a championship game that's different than a regular game, and I think that both, I'm not blaming that for what happened. Like, we'll own our part of that. But again, people don't realize how many different things are happening at the end of a championship game. And then again, if you win and you're the away team, now you're getting booed by the crowd, and it's like, it's like there's so many other components to that versus celebrating with your home crowd,
Yeah.
Coach, I did want to ask something about the Bishop Almont game. I don't know if you have any thoughts on it, but there was a reporter named Gabe Duarte that had what I would call a confrontation with your AD. Do you know anything about that, and maybe what transpired?
Here's the problem with that. I don't know much about any of that. My AD said he talked to him in the press box, and then somebody said that he confronted him on the field, but my athletic director said he never talked to him on the field. So I don't know if a parent talked to him on the field and he mixed up him for one of my ADs or whatever. But my AD only communicated with him in the press box, and I don't know anything more than that. So the only thing I can think of is maybe somebody talked to him that he thought was the same guy. But my AD is a pretty honest, straightforward guy. So And so, but I don't know much of any of that. Again, people were kind of slamming us for that too. Again, it has nothing to do with the kids, nothing to do with me. But you can slam me if you want. You can talk about my kids in my program if you want. But it's just getting a bit repetitive now.
No, appreciate that. You're on here, so I kind of had to ask you, and that's fair. You took that head on, and you shared the information that you do know. If I guess we've kind of hammered out the drama of this. I really can't. I do think what is unfortunate is your celebration of the water at midfield, which in my opinion seems super innocent and fun, spills onto that side of the field. And it 100%. Makes it kind of like the kids are like celebrating with you and they're fired up. And they probably don't even realize they turn around and they're within 15 yards of that opposing sideline. So it seems natural to then just turn around and be like, yeah, we just beat you. I get that. And so
it's
probably only like a couple kids, if that.
There's 3 kids. I think maybe 4, yeah.
Yeah, like if that doesn't happen. But no, I'm glad to hear that, you're owning.
And again, and like you said, I think Aram said it, like, and their kid could have been, when he was talking crap to our kids, it could have been a retaliatory thing. Yeah, absolutely. 100%. I agree with you, Aram, about that. And I'm sure their coach is addressing it with that kid. So, it's, we're still dealing with kids here. My kids are 15, 16 years old. Right. Some of them are 17. We don't have any 18-year-olds on the team. They're still very young. And it's our job as adults to guide them through. And, we're not going to get rid of them for making mistakes. That's not our job. Our job is to teach them and help them learn from mistakes and do better next time, So it's like, it's not like this is our first championship game, and this doesn't happen every, this is our 3rd CIF championship game, our 6th CIF game of some sort. And so, it's a violent competitive sport and it's very competitive, but we still have to hold these kids accountable at the same time.
Aram, you got anything?
Yeah. I just want to remind people here, I know a lot of people are upset about this, but there was no fight.
Yeah.
There was no 100%. Shoving that I can see, no physical contact, just shit talking and taunting, which is kind of, similar to, guess what? 7-on-7 culture. That's my next question, Coach.
Yeah.
What influence do you think 7-on plays in a situation like this? Because there's a lot of taunting that goes on and a lot of antics that go on in 7-on. Do you think that breeds like a culture among, the young athletes to kind of spill over into the season and the actual games?
Coach,
yeah.
Hold on, Coach. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry to interrupt you. I'm just just to kind of move on a little bit. And I want you to answer this question. I do. But I have to bring it up. I just put it on the screen. Aram, it's so funny. I'm putting up just so we can watch the highlights of the game. And Legendary Sports Studio titled it Pacifica Oxford versus Palos Verdes, 4th quarter fist fight.
That's crazy.
Coach, was there any, like, there was no fight in the 4th quarter or anything, was there?
None at all.
So they're probably alluding to the handshake.
I guess. Unless because it was a physical 4th quarter, maybe.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Maybe that's it.
Okay, that's just crazy. Sorry, go ahead. The 7-on-7. I just thought it was ironic. Go ahead.
Yeah,
go ahead.
That is crazy. I don't know if that's the one. One of them has a highlights of the whole game. I think it's that one, and it's just a super clean.
Yeah, no, these guys do a great job. It's these legendary.
But it was a well-fought game. Like, it was just a really good game back and they're a really good team. And it's just like, you don't even hear any like sound bites of crap talking or anything. It's just like 2 teams getting after it, So it's unfortunate to end that way. But anyway, to answer your question, Aram, I'm not one of those coaches that bashes the 7-on-7, because I think some do, right? But I think yes, I think it does have an influence. I think that has an influence on them. I think watching the college game has an influence on them. I think these are 15 and 16-year-old kids that are easily influenced. And yes, when they're in a 7-on-7 circuit, there's no accountability for that. It's almost celebrated, right? And then, we always bring them back into our spring ball, and it's like, okay, no more of that, because they try to show up with their beanies and their glasses and and like, no, we're not. This is high school football. We're not doing that here, right? And the head topping thing is like, you put your hand on, you put your, you know what I'm saying? Like, we're not doing that here, This is regular football. So again, not trying to bash the 7-on-7 circuit, because there's a time and a place for everything, and it keeps kids off the streets and doing something constructive. But yes, I do think it kind of seeps into the high school game.
Aram, I do want to get Coach off the hot seat here on these last couple questions. So if you have one more kind of spicy for him, go ahead.
Bring it on.
Because then we're gonna lighten up on him here because he's been
Coach, I think you addressed it earlier that it's something that maybe you guys should have gone over before the game, and I think it's something that. Okay, so let's go to the Ohio State-Michigan game over the weekend. At the end of the game, I don't know if people saw this on social media, Sharon Moore and Ryan Day meet, and Michigan is guarding its emblem. Again, this is a post-game situation. Ohio State's down in its end zone with its fans, and Ryan Day is telling Sharon Moore, you guys can jet, we're not going to, plant the flag, on your logo at midfield. So you're seeing it there. It's something that coaches are needing to address. And I know you kind of talked about this earlier. Going forward is, post game, something that you got. Actually, I was going to say, at the end of games, we've often seen coaches, Tarek, you've been down on sidelines too, kind of turn and tell their team, hey, no bullshit right here. Get in a line, keep your mouth shut, blah, blah, blah. Do you think it's something that's just going to have to be added to what you guys do as far as preparation? Guys, chill out. We don't want to risk anything.
100% for us, for sure, obviously, after this. But like I said, and what division was it that they got in a little fight after Division 11 championship? And it was multiple. We were playing Granite Hills and we're watching their thing, and they had a little thing went back and forth with Lincoln, and it was kind of way worse than us. You know what I'm saying? So I think, yes, for us, I can only speak for ourselves. We're going to address it, but I think maybe that's something that all of us in the southern section really need to address, or even in California and maybe beyond it. Maybe it needs to be addressed. Here's the thing. I'm normally in front of everything at the handline shake, right? But now I'm being dumped with water, a second water bucket, and now they're trying to line up and I'm on the sideline. So now my AD is in front of it and not the head coach, right? Again, going back to the whole championship game and how things are thrown off the norm. So again, I'm not in front of it. He's in front of it. So tough place for him to be, seeing what was going on. And so he did what he thought was right. And I'm going to support my boss, as much as I can. But again, normally I'm in front of that. So I don't know. I wish there was a few different things that we could take back from that. But again, to take anything away, it was such a clean game and hard fought game on both sides. It's, for anybody to say anything else, definitely was not at the game, for sure.
Yeah, so. I will say, I do want to just read a couple things Coach Gardner said, and honestly, he just echoed that. Let's see what he said. He said, he really thanked me for asking to come on, and he just said, I'm not really interested in talking about last week unless it's about the effort of our kids, which I thought was really awesome. You had to be there, and basically what you just said, it was such a hard fought battle. You really had to be there to appreciate it. And then he said, talking about anything other than our team's effort would take away from that. Proud of our guys before, during, and after the game. So those are some things Coach Gardner said. Who honestly, Coach Guy Gardner, from my experience, really good dude, runs a really good program. All right, Coach, I wanted to ask you about Ventura County football. We talked about it at the luncheon a little bit when you went. We interviewed with Randy Rosenblum. A couple more questions here, and then we'll let you get out of here. But to me, being north side of LA County, more so in the Valley, and having an idea of Ventura County football, pretty good. I mean, I'm not the Ventura County star, but I have a good idea of who the juggernauts and who the better programs are out that way. St. Bonaventure for a little bit, Oaks Christian. But you're more north than all that, man. And you guys are pretty much running Ventura County. There's got to be some pride to that. And I'd like for you to share what is, if you had to tell people that are not familiar with Ventura County high school football, what is different about Ventura County football compared to stuff that's more down south, like LA or Orange County, or even the Inland Empire or the San Gabriel Valley?
Yeah, I don't know much different. I mean, Ventura County somewhat in tiers, if you will. We do an association. So we play in the Marmonte League with Oaks Christian, St. Bonaventure.
That's the best league.
Yeah, and then it's a tier system, right? And then if you're the bottom of this league, you go down, and if you're the top of this league, you move up, and so on and so forth, right? And so we played really good football. We had 4 teams play in the CIF championship game. 2 teams played each other in Division 12 in Ventura County. 3 of us are moving on. Last year, I think we had 3 teams in the CIF championship finals. 2 moved on. And then there was 4 in the semis, and then so I know when we were at the luncheon, by the way, where my kids were behaving exceptional and were just stellar human beings at the luncheon. When you interviewed me at the luncheon, I'm not sure who it was that was interviewing me. I think you mentioned his name.
Yeah,
but he's just like,
Randy,
well, what's good? Well, Ventura County football played great football. Like you said, St. Bonaventure was a powerhouse. Oak Christian was a powerhouse.
Mm-hmm.
Westlake's been a powerhouse. And when we say powerhouse, we mean like playing the big dogs and winning championships and, like just an absolute like Southern California powerhouse. So we've always played really good football. We send a lot of kids to the next level. It's just our turn. I think the difference with Oxnard being a different demographic than the rest of Ventura County, obviously. And then the side of Oxnard that we're on is even, a different demographic, and so for you say the best team this year. Okay, we'll take it this year, right? Maybe the best team in Ventura County this year, because who knows what the future holds. There's so many good teams in Ventura County.
It was Newbury Park last year.
Yeah, absolutely.
D2 champs and all that. Yeah, because
absolutely.
It always seems to me, and obviously you won a championship last year too, so I'm almost going to contradict myself. But wouldn't you say, and please correct me if I'm wrong, with Ventura County, it always seems to be like 1 or 2 really good teams, and then there seems to be a drop off. I don't know, and I'm talking about like at the high divisions, 2, 3, 4. Like you mentioned, you had your Division 3 team. I think Ventura played in the Division 6 final against St. Pius, and then you got to go all the way down to Division 12 to find another finalist. So there's something about Ventura County that, to me, there's always like 1 or 2 teams you got to watch out for, maybe even in hoops too, and then there is a drop off. And maybe that's because a lot of the kids are coming to the private schools in LA. How do you maybe explain that?
Yeah, I think I think it's hard to you're talking about the amount of teams at the top versus the bottom, or just staying at the top type thing.
Yeah, just it always seems to be someone different. There's no way to kind of stay on top in Ventura County. There's always kind of different teams.
We always say it goes in cycles, right? It was like the public school cycle. Like you can have a really good team and it's going to take you 3 years to get it going again. I think we have a large school that helps us out. You know what I'm saying? And I think we do a really good job of retaining kids. Kids don't transfer out. And so there's things that have helped us kind of maintain success over the years. Obviously having sheer numbers is going to help anybody, right? That's why everybody's so amazed with Rio Hondo Prep, because they're such a small school, right? That, so I get that. So that's part of it, but yeah, it's difficult, right? There's in Ventura County, kids transfer in and out all the time. It's just kind of a norm thing, right? And so you lose kids from that. Again, we've been able to retain ours for the most part, which is one of the reasons why we stay near the top, I guess. And then again, the sheer number of schools. I think it's difficult. I think high school or college recruiting in high schools has affected it now, right? And the college coach is not going to all the high schools, right? So I think that's kind of how I told somebody the other day, like we were able to build our program up right before the portal really affected high school recruiting, And so it's like, okay, so kids that want an opportunity to play at the next level, there's certain schools, and this is any city in any community, any county, right? Like you kind of like, oh, you want to go to that school or that school, you know what I'm saying? And not because of anything other than sometimes exposure and things like that. So I think there's things that kind of play into that, that has helped us. But you're right. I think it's cyclical in terms of public schools and having powerhouse teams that win championships. Very difficult to win back to back for sure. So
Joe Curley, who's I've known for forever, makes a really good point, but it also kind of actually backs up my point. He said Ventura County had 4 finalists in top divisions last year, and he's absolutely right. Newbury Park, Division 2, Simi Valley, Division 3, Pacifica, and St. Bonaventure. Well, here's my point. Only one of those teams is still good a year later. That's what I'm saying. Like Newbury Park, they lost their quarterback. That's tough, but still didn't have a great year. Simi Valley, I mean, I don't even need to say anything about them. Love Jim Banker. And then St. Bonaventure, new coach, didn't have a great year. You're the only one that was able to stay at top. and that seems really hard to do in Ventura County. So, Coach,
For sure.
kudos to you. Aram, you got anything else?
No, but I am enjoying my lesson here on Ventura County football.
Yeah.
These are things I didn't know, and
Man.
you mentioned those two teams, Newberry Park, St. Bonaventure. Pacifica's beaten them. Granted, the St. Bonnie's win was only by 1 point. So even though they may be down or whatever,
They're good.
They were certainly good enough to give you guys a game.
I know the Oaks Christian game was kind of tight too.
No, that both those teams are really good. I mean, we could say they're down because of their record, but they're still good football teams, full of next level, college recruit type players, especially Oaks Christian on their defensive, front and stuff like that. And they're really good teams. So again, Ventura County didn't have the success it had last year, like you said. So point taken on your side. But I think we're gonna argue that we play good football every year. And
it's good.
I do think
it's good football.
I think things happen. Obviously, like new coach at St. Bonnie, and he's doing a good job, and he'll get it going. And Oaks lost their quarterback. So different things. But it was one of those years where we won a championship last year with underclassmen, and a lot of them were sophomores last year and juniors. So it was really, we had to replace a couple of D1 receivers and a quarterback and D1 corner, stuff like that. But the kids we lost wasn't shit. It was like, I think 7 key guys, right? And so I think that helped us. And the cool part is all our offensive skill guys are juniors this year. And so, obviously we're going to have to replace the offensive line and things like that. I don't want to get ahead of myself. We still got, the rest of the season. But again, you're not wrong about what you're saying, but at the same time, we're going to advocate and say that we play great ball every year.
Aram?
Yeah, Coach, I just want to say, researching you guys before the Bishop Amat game, a game that I actually picked against our local school here, and picked you guys to win, which you guys did. I noticed that your defense, just sideline to sideline, is fantastic. And then I think a couple of your coaches, maybe even your DC, came on to Spaces after the Amat win because that's kind of a local team for a lot of us in our Friday night Spaces, and, talked with us about the game. Told me you guys have like 3 guys that are D1 guys or commits or have offers. What is that number on the defense? Like how many?
On our defense, all 3 of our linebackers are D1 guys. Our free safety is a D2 guy. We have some other guys that should be a mix too, but you got to get everything done, right? To be a D1 guy, you got to get it done in the classroom in a way, like all those things. So, but our linebackers are being recruited for a reason, and so, and then one of our DNs is a D1 guy, but he's really a linebacker that we moved down. We had 4 D1 recruit linebackers, so we moved one of them down to DN.
Who are they, Coach? Like if you want to give us the names and maybe the commit or their offers or that type of.
Yeah, Isaiah Phelps is number 0. He's got like 25 or 26 offers. He's a power 4 guy. He's a 27. Pee Wee Wilson, number 3. He's got 5 or 6 offers. A couple FCS, a couple Group of 5. DeVille Warner actually has no offers, but because he didn't play he played, but he wasn't a starter until this year.
Is he number 4?
He is number 16.
Okay. Who's 4?
4 is my nickel, and he plays corner as well. He's a young guy. He's on our prospect list. He has no current offers, but he's a young. He'll get it going. 16 was the one that I got 3 phone calls this week from FCS school. So again, he wasn't on our prospect list last year because he didn't have the junior film, but he's 6'2" and he can run. And then the kid we moved down to DN is Malika Sione, number 44.
What number is he? 44. Yeah, I'm watching him right now.
I think he's 14 years old or something. He's 240 pounds. Like he might be 15 now, but he was a 14-year-old freshman last year on our team that won.
So he's 2028.
Yeah, with those 4 guys, and like number 4, Darius Smith is really good. 31 Magana, he's got a like the NAI offers and stuff like that, and then our corners are good too. So again, we have really good kids. The linebackers is the bread and butter of that defense. We have a physical safety, Juju Hernandez. He's a D2 guy, but he plays in the box like an extra linebacker. So again, it helps us play good defense when you have skilled and talented guys like that.
Yeah, I noticed like when you guys played Oak Hills, that was the thing I was basing it on. Obviously, I don't remember the Oak Hills QB's name, but he's a stud. He's a big dude. He's a stud. I think he's a D1 commit, if I'm not mistaken.
He's a stud.
And a lot of their offense was him kind of keeping the ball on reads, and he just the usual things that were there outside for him. Just your guys just kind of extended the play out, and then when he tried to get upfield, they were right there. Just, I mean, what do you do? I mean, it's just a fantastic defense with linebackers like that. You just, man, it's a sight to see. There's no wonder you guys are 14-0.
Yeah, well, I thank you, and those kids deserve the praise. It doesn't hurt to call a defense and to play defense when your offense outside of this last game is scoring. Every time you turn around, they're scoring. So our offense does a really good job. So again, it's twofold, and I guess you don't get to that 14-0 championship without playing well on both sides of the ball. But it's been fun to coach these guys. The defense has been electric all year, and the offense has been fun to watch.
Yeah.
Coach,
Coach.
We've kept you long enough. We appreciate you being a good sport coming on. You've experienced the Fattal factor. Hopefully one day you'll come back. But thank you so much for joining us, shedding a little light on some of this drama, pretty much putting it to bed. I think to your point, listen, at the end of the day, though, people want to agree, disagree. That's not our job. Our job is to let you have the platform and let those consuming the information, let them make their judgment. But we appreciate you coming on. Thanks so much. Good luck. Who do you have? Who do you have this weekend?
Granite Hills, San Diego Section Division 1 team.
Okay.
No joke.
Okay. And you're hosting, or you got to go down there?
No, for third week in a row, we're long bus ride. So
okay.
Yeah.
Well, Coach, travel safe. Good luck to you, and thanks for joining us.
All right, appreciate you guys.
Thank you, Coach.
Thanks. Have a good night.
Okay, well, there he goes, Mike Moon. Man, I mean, what else can you say? I mean, the guy came on here and answered every question we had. I don't know what else you want us to say. So I always appreciate a coach willing to come on here. We talked a little bit on the phone today, and he was very nice. Look, man, I want people to know out there, and this is really important to me. And Aram, I think you can even attest to this. I don't assume people know anything. And I don't mean that to be, hey coach, I have this show on Monday nights. It's called Fattal Factor. We've had this coach on, we've had that coach on. We pride ourselves on doing X, Y, Z. And he pretty much interrupted me and was like, dude, I watched the show. I'll come on, thanks coach. I don't assume that everyone has an eye on this show or knows what I'm doing. I don't operate that way. I think I do some really good work. Aram, you and I do really good work. But you can't assume that this is top of mind to every high school sports fan in Southern California. It doesn't make any sense. So if it was, there'd be 10,000 people in here, So I know we got a long ways to go, but it was nice to know that he understood what we do, and he was comfortable enough to come on here in what, is a little bit of a dicey kind of situation. They're still playing football, right? So that's another reason why he might have not wanted to come on, but he did anyway, and I'm appreciative of Coach Mike Moon for that.
Yeah, I mean, this is where you go. You named it, Tarek. The big storylines this season in SoCal, the Money Man, Crampgate, this situation, the Arizona guy coming on talking about, where the
forgot about that show.
Where the transfers went. Coach Carson, coming on from Rio Hondo Prep to talk about the mystery. It's just, this is the spot, and people are gonna, understand that going forward. Again, I always say this, like with the likes, doesn't mean you got to like Tarek or Aram, but the coaches or the people, if you want to get your message out and you want to discuss something, this is the place to do it. And this is only season 1, dude. Things are going to get bigger and better from here. I hope everyone understands that. And if you're new to this, like Tarek said, subscribe. New to this show, like just seeing us for the first time, subscribe and like. I guarantee you're going to have a good time here every Monday night.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much it, Arrow. I mean, I'll be honest with you. To me, and this could be maybe something we kind of end the show on. I'm of the opinion that football is weird, man. Like after the Southern Section Championships, I just feel like the regionals and the state games, it just kind of loses its luster. I don't.
It does.
I feel like you want to win the Southern Section. You want to hold the
Yes.
plaque up. And everything else is whipped cream on top. So I'll be honest, I don't know. I might like catch some basketball games on Friday night at the Rise Williams at Redondo Union, you know, because there's always great games in that tournament. And then I'll clock back in for the state championships. I'll probably go to Saddleback and watch whatever they got going over there, and then stick around for the open final with Santa Margarita and De La Salle. But something about the regional finals, man, they're just not as sexy. Would you agree?
Yes, and I think it's like a letdown for the teams even that won it, or like a come down, if you will, and then difficult to get back up because, like you said, the Southern section is the prize here. In other sections in this state and in other states, period, state titles are the thing, and that's that's kind of opposite here in the Southern section. It's relatively speaking, a newer concept, like 10 years old, 11 years old, something to that effect. So, it is what it is. Our teams, I'm sure, will represent just fine. And, have a good weekend, obviously. So
I think for a lot of other states, the state championship is a big deal because there's only so many teams, like your class. Like it is the Southern Section Championship is the state championship for so many, Arizona and all the. But it's California, the Southern Section. It's so many teams. It's so
big section,
rich in talent. It's like it's a gauntlet to win the Southern Section title. So. It makes sense. Then it's just a lot of extra. So that's my take on this coming weekend. I don't really plan on going to a game. I might stick around on Friday night and watch some, but I might not even do that. I'll check back in next week.
Last thing though, bro, about the Fattal factor.
Sure, man. Oh God.
So last week's CIF press luncheon, Coach Carson introduces me accurately so as Aram Tallegian from the Fattal Factor, Friday Night Flow, which is just our fun spaces that we do that Tarek and I kind of started here a few around the pandemic time. And now things have kind of morphed onto the YouTube platform as well on Monday nights. Your thoughts, man? I mean, not only that, but, Aram gets credentialed for the D1 championship under the Fattal Factor, okay, as the media organization that he's representing. Bro, what are your thoughts on that? I mean, like, I'll ask my second question after this, but what are your thoughts on that, dude? Like, I don't even think you were there at the press luncheon at the time when I got introduced as that, but it's a thing, dude. Fattal Factor is a thing. That's
I don't know if you can still see the screen, but I just put up your credential with the empty Rose Bowl in the back. Yeah, I mean, look, man, I would say that what you're describing is, I think, almost the DNA of this show. Is that, and we have to be careful because we don't want to make it seem like we're trying to make all of it like a joke. You don't want to show up to that luncheon like Fattal Factor, and like make a mockery of it. That's not what we're doing. But I like that. Look, man, on here, we talk serious stuff. We also like to have fun. And so what I think is kind of cool is you go for a credential for the luncheon and the Division I championship at the Rose Bowl. And under your media outlet, you put Fattal Factor. And clearly Simmons and West and the powers that be up at the section office looked at it. I hope they smirked and just hit approve because clearly it wasn't an issue. You got approved. So, not to mention, let's be honest, Simmons knows you. I don't know if you've ever met Mike West, but certainly Tom Simmons knows you and vouches for you. And that's actually he's the communications guy for the media at the section. So I'd be shocked if he denied you. You could have put Tiddlywinks as your media outlet and you probably would have gotten in because you guys know each other. But Fattal factor being right there under your name is funny. And then for those that don't know, I actually was giving Aram some flack because I joked with him, like, he ended up being a no-show at the Rose Bowl, and I jokingly was offended because I was like, great, dude, like, you put in for a credential for the biggest game of the year at the Rose Bowl, and my name is on your credential, and you no-show. Like, how more disrespectful can you be? You know, come on. And I really don't care. And so I took this photo because I thought it was really funny, and I just tweeted, no-show, tough. You know, like, the guy screwed us. But yeah, man, I think it's funny, and you know, it does have a certain element of not class, but it's tasteful. That's the word. The humor in it, and the way we approach it is tasteful, and I think that's why it works.
But here's the thing, Tarek. So 2 things. Number 1, when I show up to the press luncheon and, you know, there's a couple ladies checking people in, couple ladies that work for CIF checking in. One lady says, like, what's your name and your media outlet? And the other lady says, I know you. You know, I watched your podcast. I watched it last night.
Really?
Yeah.
That
So,
I didn't know. That's funny.
This is what I'm trying to say is it's a thing.
Okay.
It is a thing. It's a legitimate media outlet now.
I guess that's,
you know,
yeah.
as you know,
My dad would
funny
love.
as that
My dad would love to hear you say that. Like, yeah.
but it is legitimately
Yeah.
a media outlet now. This show, look at the people that we've had on this year. You know, look at the big stories that landed here for explanation. It's legitimately a thing. Now, having said that, this is my point. So I'm under there as Fattal Factor. Fattal Factor is named in you know, that's your name. It's your show, and you're not credentialed under Fattal Factor. I mean, it's just I just thought that was like an interesting, like, dichotomy or whatever.
Fair, yeah.
I mean, like, dude, why would you not credential yourself under your namesake show, dude? It would be like,
yeah, that's a good point. I didn't even think about that. I just went with, you know, what my job is, and that's, you know, the high school on SI. You know, that's my employer. So, but yeah, that's a very good point. I didn't think of that. And there's a part of me that
my employer's Fox, dude. But
yeah,
this
that's
is
good.
where, you know.
Yeah, but you don't like cover high schools for Fox. Right. Yeah, I get it. Right. No, that is funny. It kind of reminds me of that line. I don't know if you're familiar with the line from Jay-Z. He says, "I'm not a businessman. I'm a businessman." I don't know if you've ever heard that. So maybe I should start saying, "I'm not a podcast man. I am a podcast man."
But did you just big league your own show?
No.
Come on, dude.
Just now?
No, like by not credentialing
no,
yourself.
I don't think people care. I think it's actually better shtick that you went on behalf of Fattal Factor.
Sure.
Yeah. So, yeah, man. No, that's good stuff. I got a couple city section people in here real quick, Aram. I do want to show you one highlight that was pretty crazy. I gave it a shout out on CBS. There's a little bit of backstory to this. Man, I don't know if I want to go too deep into it, but you can see the screen, right? Like, you got monitor? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So Southgate High School is a city section team. I'm not kidding. Before I roll this, I do want to it's so convoluted. I actually, it did really well. I made this. I don't know if you remember it. Maybe, because it's not really, you don't really follow city section football, which I wouldn't blame you. But last year, they got to the Division II city final against Chatsworth. And they butchered, it's just the truth. They butchered the end of the game so poorly, Aram. It was so bad. They ended up losing to Chatsworth. There was a botched kickoff that ended up going straight out of bounds. It ended up giving Chatsworth field position, plus a penalty because the ball went out of bounds. And Chatsworth kicked a field goal with no time left and won the game. And all Southgate had to do was just kick the ball in play on the kickoff, and they would have won the game. It was absurd. So they lose the game. They're back in a city final this year in Division I. And they're playing a school called Marquez. And I think there might have been like 3 or 4 touchdowns combined, like in the last like 3 or 4 minutes of the game. It was like defense optional. So I've now set the stage a little bit. This is, I believe, either there was a PI called, stick with me on this, that allowed Southgate to have this one extra play, the last play of the game. They are trailing when this happens. So it's hard to see, but the ball is in the air. I'm gonna pause it. Okay, there's the ball in the air. I paused it. Okay, as it comes down, there's a jump ball, and it falls to a kid standing right there, number 2, and he lifts his hands up.
Wow, okay, I just saw it. That's awesome. That's outstanding. Wow.
Last play of the game, quarterback's running for his life, jump ball amongst 4 kids, and little number 2 is just sitting there. I believe his name was Nick Fonseca. Anyway, man, so Southgate wins a city title, and now they got to play someone in a regional. But
heartbreaking for Marquez.
Yes. And actually, Marquez has a kid named Elijah Staples, who's like this D1 like legit guy. I don't know how he ended up at Marquez. That's probably a story I should look into. But anyway, so Southgate wins, and I forgot what happened on via Twitter, but their coach gave me a little sass through this season, and he gave me an attitude about something, and I responded back to him like, I think I responded back, Aram, like, hey, just make sure we don't kick the ball 5 yards out of bounds this year. Something like that. There. Yeah, no, I did, because he had no, like, I think they had, like, we were doing the SoCal Prep Report show, and I think they were, like, in the top 10, and I said something like, man, I don't know if Southgate should be in the top 10. Hamilton just beat Crenshaw. They should probably be, like, in the top 10. So he responds something snarky. So I just said, hey, coach, just make sure we're not kicking the ball 5 yards out of bounds. And, okay. This is what drove me nuts. He responds to it, #Christ-like. So he like tried to throw like Jesus in my face. And that was not a good play. So it was kind of funny. Anyway, they go on, they win a city title in dramatic fashion. So I did the right thing. The kids deserve the coverage. So you'll see the clip tomorrow. But I gave them a shout out on Sports Central on Sunday.
Great.
For this. So congratulations to Southgate. See, Chris Ford gets it. Tarek with the shade. Anyway, go ahead.
Tarek, so it's funny you bring that up. This is nothing new. You know, we talked earlier about the Gabriel Duarte situation at the Pacifica game. This is nothing new for media.
Right.
In fact, it's
I think it's a compliment.
Yeah, well, that too. But when predictions and social media and spaces and podcasts and YouTube shows came into play, it opened up and you know, especially again, predictions, it opened up sort of an avenue for people to be triggered, I guess you would say, by what's being said on those things. But it goes back before that. I can remember in my early days at the Tribune, there was a guy who was our boxing writer, Robert Morales.
Oh, yeah.
He was the boxing writer for the whole SoCal
Long Beach guy.
Yeah, and he was a guy, yeah, he eventually went on to work at Press Telegram as well as their prep guy, but he was a guy you didn't want to mess with. He was a former Mexican gang member, something that he wrote about extensively, like, you know, his life and stuff. He was a no-nonsense guy, and I remember there was a high school team or game that made, and this is pre-social media, that made a threat against him. And I remember him telling our sports editor at the time, Doug Spoon, that if somebody pops off to him or somebody, you know, threatens him at the game that he was covering that Friday night, they're going down. So it's not anything new. I can remember a All-Star game back in 2004 or 5. I made a prediction in my column, again, kind of pre-social media, about who was going to win the game. And although the prediction was right ultimately, the way I thought it would go down wasn't. And a player confronted me after the game. Now, this was when the All-Star game, the local football All-Star game, was in the summer after the kids graduated. He confronted me on the field saying like, yeah, don't be predicting against us like that, or, whatever. And, I basically told the kid, like, you're graduated now. Like, don't come at me like that. I'll kick your ass. So this is, and Donald Bernard, that now I'm our assistant coach, kind of had to break up that situation. This is nothing new. So like what happened to young Gabriel at the game with Pacifica, that's going to happen time and again. What happened like with what you're describing here, that's going to happen again and again. It's nothing new. We're all big boys. We can handle it. It just goes with the territory. So not a biggie.
I actually find it quite like, okay, I'll tell you right now, at Poly Pavilion basketball just 2 weekends ago, Crespi was playing Mater Dei, and boy, it's the worst Mater Dei high school basketball team I've seen in my 11 years. They're so bad. So Crespi beat, by the way, Crespi lost tonight to Village Christian. That's kind of an upset, so that'll be interesting. But anyway, so Crespi beats Mater Dei by like 30. The Isaiah and Carter Barnes, Matt Barnes boys, the twins, super nice kids. They run up to the scores table and they start yelling like, "Oh, we're ranked 15, huh? 15. You might want to change that." Well, and so they start chirping at me after the game, and I'm telling you, man, their coaches, so Derek Fisher and Ryan Moore, their coach, like pretty much not Derek. Derek Fisher actually chirped at me on Twitter, but he was being in jest. Ryan Moore texted me and goes, "Hey man, like we didn't tell those kids to do that." And I'm like, dude, it was totally in fun. They weren't disrespectful. And basically what I think of it is, hey man, those kids are paying attention. And I think that's kind of cool. So yeah. I always welcome anything to be bulletin board material. Here's where I will clap back. If you come at me outside of the boundaries and the bumpers of high school sports, and look, I picked you to lose and you won, I'll eat the crow. Tarek, you were wrong, all that. But you start kind of getting, I would even say like personal, or start name calling, that's when I think it goes too far. Those kids didn't do any of that. Most of these kids, I'll never forget, guys, it's funny, ironically, Crespi, again, like 3-4 years ago, Damian Porter, his 1 year good at Crespi, I think I picked them to lose, they won, and then the following week I had to go up there for like a story, so I come up to practice, and one of the players called me Burrito Boy. It was hilarious, like, come on, Burrito Boy, like, you gotta pick us to win, I got no issues with it, and I think it's a good thing. I really, really do.
Yeah, it's just part of being in media.
Yeah. I think that's gonna be it, Aram. For all those that are still in here, please, smash the like button, follow the channel. Really appreciate everybody joining tonight. We had Mike Moon on; he was great.
Yeah, he was.
Pacifica moves on, and that's the end of that. I mean, what else can you say? And I don't know, man. I don't know how good that Granite Hills team is, but I don't know, man. Other than
they beat Lincoln. And Lincoln
did
really,
Lincoln?
that's how they got here. Yeah.
Okay, so Lincoln didn't even get to the Open?
No, and we wanted to see Lincoln against Pacifica. That would have been a fun game for obvious reasons. Both
that would have been
programs are
Chirp
wickedly talented.
Well, it would have been Chirp City. Those guys clearly.
That may be true too.
Yeah, both those programs clearly like to talk. So
yeah. But Granite Hills must be hella talented too if they were able to knock off Lincoln they did. So
Lincoln must be like maybe a little down. That for them not to at least be in the Open Division playoffs down there tells me something. So anyway, Aram, any final thoughts before I let you go here, brother?
No, just another fun week here. I want to make sure that I got that right.
Aram, we might. I'm telling you, man. I don't. We got to start game planning about what these shows are going to look like here in December. Because we're gonna have to start talking a little bit of basketball, and again we'll have to talk about what that looks like for you. But basketball's around the corner, man. We got Jason Crow Jr. from Inglewood. This guy is 171 points away from being the all-time state scoring leader, and he's gonna smash it because he's only played in 4 games and he's only 171 points away. So this guy's gonna get to potentially 4,000 points, which is just unbelievable. So there's some nice storylines going on. But one thing that is for sure, I want people to know that there will always be high school football in every show. I guarantee, I promise that. December, January, because we're going to be talking about coaches getting fired, coaches getting hired. There will be mid-semester transfers. They happen every year. A quarterback will finish the fall semester. Something might not even happen with a coach, and they will be somewhere else in the spring. It happens every year. So there'll be transfer news. There'll be coaching, hiring, and firing. Then we'll get into some spring ball. There'll be plenty of football to talk, even if it's just for a little bit throughout the winter. Then I have no idea what we're gonna do for the spring. I really don't. So I'm just being totally honest with you. I don't know. We'll see what those shows look like. But for right now, we got a little bit more football to talk about. So we'll squeeze it for all the juice that's in there.
Yeah, we'll have stuff to talk about, dude. And don't forget, signing day is coming up this week. We'll see. If I kind of not sure if this is like the big signing day or we already had that, a month or two ago. But isn't signing day this week?
Yeah, it's Wednesday.
Yeah, Wednesday.
That's why Kiffin did what he did.
Yeah, right. That's pretty fun stuff.
Why did John...
Yeah, Tarek. Last thing. This whole John Ireland, Fred Robledo thing today.
That's crazy. I love John Ireland. What happened?
Yeah. Someone mentioned you and John Ireland. Did you get involved in that at all today? That little...
I've never had...
Nothing on Twitter? Okay.
Nothing with John Ireland. Anything with John Ireland, I would like any interaction I'd have with John Ireland, I guarantee would be positive because I love John Ireland.
Oh yeah. I do too. I remember when John Ireland used to host a radio show on XTRA 690 with Chet Forty.
I'm looking at his Twitter. Did he get into it with Freddie?
No, so they had Beto Duran on their show today. This is Mason and Ireland show.
Yeah, he was filling in.
No, they had him on as like a guest.
Okay.
I think maybe he has a regular spot. And this is again how I'm not 100 here, but Beto brought up Rio Hondo prep.
Okay.
Toward the end, and he was talking about like you got to give Rio Hondo prep. In high school football, you got to give them their due, that kind of stuff, and I think Ireland sort of cut him off, toward the end and was like, like enough high school football, that type stuff.
Okay.
And then Freddie saw the clip and tweeted something like, to John Ireland about it, which I thought was pretty interesting because, like, I don't think John Ireland knew who Freddie was. I'm trying to pull. I should have had this pulled up.
I'm not like. John Ireland and I follow each other on Twitter. We've interacted a few times. We have a mutual friend or two. Here we go. Some guy named Fred Robledo poked. Okay, I'm seeing it now. Oh. Okay, so Roland Padilla.
Mm-hmm.
Yo, Duran Sports, tell Ireland Rio Hondo prep is coming after him. Okay, so so whatever. Okay, so clearly, so it sounds like because Beto has tried to bring some high school sports like coverage per se to the to the ESPN radio, like Anyway, so I get that. So he's probably doing his like weekly segment or trying to make something about it. Okay, it's 8 minutes long. Let me see if I can just put it up on the screen. Hold on.
Our boy Vinu kind of described it. Vinu, Freddie clapped at Ireland and Ireland clapped back. So that was pretty funny. Like Freddie, who has 44,000 followers, being like called like, some guy named Fred Robledo.
Oh, that's hilarious. Okay.
Because Freddie's a pretty well-known dude.
Oh no, for sure.
Regionally, a lot of people know Freddie. Ireland's got 100-something thousand followers.
Yeah, 117. And it's not even that active. But to be honest, if you look at Ireland's page, not active on Twitter at all. That's probably why he doesn't know much about Fred. To be honest, but Anyway, that's funny. That is funny.
And Freddie and Beto were boys, so
Yeah. Exactly. I can't believe Crespi lost the village. Anyway, ladies and gents, we're gonna call it. Aram, you're the best, and another great show. Thank you to Mike Moon for coming on. Pacifica of Oxnard, 14-0, just like Rio Hondo Prep. You got to give them their flowers. Santa Margarita wins the Division I final. I mean, decent championship weekend. There was a couple of, Grace Brethren won a CIF championship after basically like not having a program, a few years ago. Pretty cool story. So, anyway, I think that just about does it, Aram.
That just about does it, Tarek.
All right, I'm gonna let you go. See ya.
Bye, everyone.
Bro, we've been friends for a long time. Make the call.
I don't know if you guys have noticed, but this is kind of like my exit song. Wait for the beat to drop. It kind of gets me like in a mood, like as I sign off. Now, if I knew how to flow, that'd be a different story. This channel would have 10,000 subscribers. But I don't, so we're only at 1,600. But the goal is to get to 2,000. Guys, I'm sorry for being late. Forgive me. I will not plan a stream via my phone ever again. I'll tell you that right now, because that's what the disaster was all about. Anyway, thanks to Mike Moon again for coming on. We had a decent show. It's 10 o'clock. Let's go to bed. We got a week to live. I hope everybody had a nice Thanksgiving. My birthday was on Sunday, yesterday. I turned 36 for anyone out there that cares. So honestly, I think anyone that's my age, a little bit older or whatever, it's like, man, just another day in paradise. I'll celebrate the 40th. I'll celebrate. We'll figure out what I'm gonna do for that one. But 36, I'll tell you what I did for my 36th birthday. I bought my wife a fake Christmas tree that was about $330 from Lowe's, and then I got home last night from doing TV, and I cooked my wife dinner. That was how I celebrated my 36th birthday, man. And honestly, wouldn't have wanted any other way, guys. Wouldn't have wanted any other way. Thank you all those for joining. Venu, Coach 4, Stevie, Brock was in here. Anybody else that joined or subscribed to the channel whilst watching, thank you. Neptune, I've seen you in here before. Thank you for watching. Dark Sword, thank you for watching. I'm sure I'm missing a ton of people. Hey, man, Joe Curley was in here watching. Appreciate that too, Joe. But guys, I'm signing out. I know we'll be back next Monday and the following Monday, probably around Christmas time. We'll take a little hiatus and take a break. But until then, you know the drill. Take the job seriously, but don't take yourself too seriously. Have a good night.